Yes, just about 9 minutes past the hour mark of 10. And I deliberately decided that the sick tune plays just a little bit longer so that it would, one, sink in, and two, allow our usual listeners, loyal to the show, who want to be part of today's conversation, to get prepared. You could be in your office, especially after the long weekend, coupled with yesterday's public holiday being Walker's Day. So if you were not with us yesterday at some point in time, let me still say happy Walker's Day. It's Walker's Month. It's a month full of events. Children's Day, and of course May 29th, the countdown is on with less than 21 days thereabouts. So it is Standpoint on the sound of your city, Rapid 96.5 FM. And I am Nkamian John the Beloved, also known as the Controversial. And it's a beautiful Tuesday. And this Tuesday, yesterday, we talked labor. We looked at workers' welfare under the Victor Okezie-Ikpeazu administration. And we had the pleasure of having two gentlemen, the leaders of labor here in Abia State, Comrade Uchenna Obigwe was with us yesterday, sharing the position of labor under the current administration. Don't forget, all through the month of May, every Monday is Standpoint Special Focus. Yes, Standpoint Special Focus, where we get to re-evaluate the outgoing administration of Governor Okezie-Ikpeazu. Don't forget, the countdown is on to the inauguration, where there will be, let me put it in local palace, change of power or change of hands, And so we are doing our bit to look at how well and how far this administration has fared in the last 8 years, and of course in a bid to set an agenda for the incoming Dr. Alex Otti-led administration. So what are we talking about today? How will the governor-elect, Dr. Alex Otti, improve the industrialization agenda as he has tabled in his manifesto, and again re-emphasized in his recent tour of the Port Harcourt road in Aba? So much talk about turning Aba into an industrial hub, not just for Abia State, but for southeastern Nigeria and Nigeria at large. I think the phrase has been turning Aba to the Japan of Nigeria. So, how will the governor-elect Alex Otti improve the industrialization of Abia State? Alex Otti will take over the reins of power from Governor Okezie-Ikpeazu on the 29th of May 2023 as the 10th governor of Abia State, God's own state. And to look at this is a young man I admire. I mean, the way the young man talks figures, I thought I used to talk figures. There are people who look at me and say, I mean, this guy is overly ambitious. But when I met this young man, I knew even at my 16-year-old age, I'm in good stead. Well, today I'm joined by Godfrey Kelechukwu Godfrey, financial educator for the Boardroom Mentorship. So it tells you why I admire. I'm his mentee right now. Good morning, Godfrey. It's great to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, Mr. John the Controversial, if I'm not mistaken.
Happy New Month and happy Workers' Day.
Yesterday I was telling my friends, why are we driving Happy New Month over Happy Workers' Day? I mean, we only have one Workers' Day in the entire year. We have 12 months. So I'd rather you wish me Happy Workers' Day over Happy New Month.
I agree with you, because I remember having a chat with a colleague, and I was asking her that hope she was resting, because I knew she had a very busy last 2 weeks, and she said yes. Oh, what about you? I said sorry, sadly people like me don't enjoy public holidays. We don't get to rest. We don't have weekends. We run round the clock. So I agree with you. Workers like us, we needed to be appreciated. It's good to have you on the show today. We'll take a quick breather, and when we come, then we delve into the conversation. Industrialization. Is this what we should be discussing in the 21st century? Because we know there was an era called the industrialization era, and for some reason we were not part of it. We were not part of it. Now the world is talking a different kind of technology. Exactly. Different level of intelligence. And yet, in the 21st century, in Abia State and across most parts of Nigeria, we are hearing manifestos promising industrialization. Well, that will be the conversation in just a moment. Do stay with us right here on Standpoint on Rapid 96.5 FM, the sound of your city.
The beauty go last year because
my guy, which kind paint have you used? We go make my house go well.
Now Cyclops paint.
Paint we go make my house shine.
Cyclops paint.
What about paint we go last for plenty years?
Now still Cyclops paint. Cyclops paint. Now we get paint when done win both national and international award on top paint matters.
I beg, where them day?
Them day nationwide. Cyclops paint get one ogbonge what they call Cyclops satin paint. If dirty touch the paint, you will use water and soap take clean and charger. Cyclops paint get other ones like emulsion paint, test coat, gloss, sack flash car paint, matte, industrial marine coating, red oxide primer, aluminium, screening paint, auto varnish, and other barbarous products. For that correct building paint where you need na Cyclops paint. Their price na shipping. For more information, call
0701 855 2224.
Hi, welcome to another day in the life of a Gen Z still living in Nigeria. As much as I recommend Googling every and anything, because of course there is unlimited information on the internet, I also recommend listening to what I would term the wisdom of the old. Remember when Common said this?
Take the wisdom of the elders and young people's energy.
Yeah. A lot of us Gen Zers are losing sight of the beauty of the wisdom of people older than we are. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a millennial, and he shared a tradition he's been practicing that helps him to completely eliminate all forms of jealousy and envy. And trust me, I don't think I would have found a more relatable analogy, at least not easily, on any corner of the internet. So this is me saying, do not despise the wisdom of the old. Because, people have been living in this one world, long before you came. So chill. Okay, that's it.
Celebrating your family and friends has become cheap like a cup of tea, easy as ABC, and rapid like it should be. You can send birthday greetings and goodwill messages on Rapid FM for just 1,000 naira. Other events like weddings, child dedication, housewarmings, religious and government functions go for even less, 500 naira. Now, your loved ones have no excuse not to celebrate you rapidly on your day because all they have to do is visit our website at www.rapidfm965.com/request or call 07049 220965.
The National Guild of Radio Managers Private, the apex body of all MDs, GMs, heads of stations of privately owned radio stations in Nigeria, announces the maiden edition of its annual Business Summit, a platform for business discourse on revenue strategies designed to help radio stations increase revenue and optimize performance. Team, ratings, profit, new tech, the radio of tomorrow. The summit features workshops, business interactions, client expo, excursions, and more. Date 23rd to 27th May 2023. Summit location, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Time, 9 a.m. daily. Attendance is strictly by registration and is also open to new and existing radio license owners, heads of marketing and programs, OAPs, broadcast consultants, among others. Businesses, broadcast vendors, SMEs are welcome to sponsor. For more inquiries on registration or sponsorship, call John on 0803-417-3565 or Patrick on 0903-805-0164.
Now you can go global rapidly. You can listen to us from anywhere in the world at www.rapidfm965.com. Plus, you can get social and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms at Rapid965FM.
965FM.
On WhatsApp, it's 091 60 333 965.
Thanks for staying with us. And if you just joined us, this is Standpoint on Rapid 96.5 FM. Your political, current affairs, social political show where we got to talk about everything and almost anything, especially as a result of developments within the polity. Yeah, as always, we have our ears to the ground and our searchlight beamed across God's own state, Abia State, southeast Nigeria, south Nigeria, and of course across this great nation, Nigeria, as well. And as the developments evolve, especially as it has direct or indirect connection or relation to you, our listener, we think it is only proper that we make it a subject of conversation to add our own quarter to the growth, development, and of course, to building the Nigeria of our dream. Well, this morning on Standpoint, the big question is, how will the governor-elect, Alex Otti, improve industrialization in Abia? This is why we asked this question. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, you'll know her, yeah, has advised Alex Otti, Abia State Governor-elect, to make Aba the state's commercial hub, the focal point of infrastructural development in the state. Okonjo-Iweala gave the advice on through Zoom while delivering her keynote address at the inauguration of a transition committee set up by Otti to help him articulate a policy document that will forge a direction and developmental agenda for his administration in line with his vision for Abia State. The team will x-ray and cover different dimensions of the massive challenges staring the incoming government in the face. So, as a fallout of that, the big question is, how will Governor Alex Otti improve industrialization in Abia State? Of course, there's been a whole lot of talk about turning Aba into an industrial hub. In fact, if I may, the statement is to turn Aba to the Japan of Africa. And having this conversation with me this morning is Godfrey Kelechukwu Godfrey, a financial educator for the Boardroom Mentorship. Once again, Godfrey, it's great to have you join the show this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Right. So before we went on that break,
yeah,
I did say we're in the 21st, going into the 22nd century, and the rest of the world is talking something completely different. We're talking metaverse. We're talking, creating a completely different ecosystem for business. Even in the workplace now, nobody's talking about appraisals, KPIs. We're talking emotional intelligence and all of that. And yet, in this part of the world, particularly in Abia State, after months of campaign, manifestos unveiled, we have a governor-elect that will be coming in, and he's talking industrialization. I thought we were done with the industrialization era.
It's very painful that at this point we're still at this phase of our life in Abia State. I mean, while others are discussing globalization, international trade, and means of getting international support and all of that, we are still looking at how we can move from doing pulley to hydraulics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very painful. Like when you talk industrialization, that's the real meaning of industrialization. Moving from manual to mechanical. So, are you telling me that in the year 2023, Abia is still being manual?
That's the question.
It's very, very painful, and this would help you understand the backlogs of work that was supposed to be done earlier or that have not been done. 16 years of PDP being in power, and the next government is talking about industrialization when it should have moved one step higher. I mean, in the Western world, we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. We're talking about new modes of creating digital economies and all of it. So it means that Abia has a long way to go. After industrialization, we then go to globalization, then we now move into digital economy. So I feel there's a whole lot of work the incoming government needs to do. And first of all, we'll have to look at the infrastructure level, first of all, because infrastructure is one thing that would attract your investors.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, security.
No, but let's break it down. When you talk about infrastructure, because for the average Abian, and not just Abian, the average Nigerian, when you talk of infrastructure, we're thinking road, we're thinking electricity, we're thinking water, we're thinking security. Does this satisfy for the kind of infrastructure that would-be investors would be interested in if they were to come towards Abia?
Okay. Before I go into that, there's something called the Ease of Doing Business Index. And in that index, it's a global rating. Nigeria is at, I think, 139 out of 190.
You're kidding me, right?
No, I'm actually serious. It's something
and places like Rwanda continue to be the best place in Africa for doing business. First choice.
You're looking at
then
Egypt,
Rwanda.
So Nigeria is at 139 over 190. Now, Nigeria is at 139. Guess where Abia is on Nigeria's list?
10.
Nah, Abia is 32 out of 36.
Wow.
So it means that if investors want to invest, they'll first skip 138 countries before they get to Nigeria. And when they want to invest in Nigeria, they'll first work with 31 states before they coming think of to Abia. So you see, we are at a very my pastor will say we are on a fast moving train on a slippery slope. And we're moving at a very alarming rate. So first off, we need to raise up the ease of doing business in Abia, and that is first of all by providing infrastructures and improving standard of living. Now, you said the basics. Good road. Have you gone from Port Harcourt through that Eleme area down to Abia? You see, it's very bad. Now you're coming from Akwa Ibom down to Abia. It's still very bad.
Yeah, once you cross where the soldiers are, the road changes.
The road changes. Now you're talking about from Orienta down towards Abia. It's still another funny road. So you're looking at, on these three axes covering Abia, bad roads. So if I was to, and now here's the funny thing, there's no airport. So if I was to be an investor coming to invest in Abia State and I see these things, don't you think I'd rather go to a Boeing that just has a new airport, international airport,
or Owerri,
Imo
State,
or then maybe I just hang in
Enugu.
We are talking about Southeast now, or Anambra. So these are states before Abia.
So with this argument, you're justifying the talks of Abia having an airport.
It should be looked into. It should be for the sake of Abia.
What would be more economical, or what would be more economically right for Abia? To invest in making the roads between Abia and Imo State accessible, motorable, so as to be able to enjoy the cargo Sambakwe cargo airport, or to invest massive funds in building its own airport.
Okay, now if you look at all these states, they all have good road networks. So first things first, invest in your road network. Then look towards aerial network. That's by building the airport. So if you'd ask me, I'd say let's make our borders, the roads aligning to our borders, very smooth first of all, for ease of business. At least when I know I'm coming to Abia, the road is very smooth. In 20-30 minutes, I'm in and out. Not spending the next 45 to 2 hours on a very bad road. Now, when you look at most of the tankers that move down east, they normally complain of bad route. These are people carrying oil, carrying fuel, things that we even aid businesses in Abia State. And then you'll say, that road is not good. That road used to spoil our vehicle. That road, it will tumble. And you're not asking yourself, these are businesses coming to Aba. These are businesses coming to Umahia.
So, with this position, it justifies what the governor-elect did recently by going to inspect the Port Harcourt Road.
I applaud him for that, honestly.
With Julius Berger,
yes,
at least to give an indication that this is the kind of work we want. These are the kind of projects that we wish to undertake immediately we get into government house.
Definitely. When I saw that, I applauded, and I said to myself, I hope this is not just for the PR. I hope this is what it is. This is the building we're talking about. This is the change all Abians have clamored for. I traveled to Benin. Okay, another thing I want to sideline is the whole Sit-at-Home saga. So I traveled to Benin over the Salah break. I had a speaking engagement in Benin. And then on coming back on a Monday, the transport company said they won't have to fly through Abia or the southeast. They'll have to go round.
Because of the Sit-at-Home.
Because of the Sit-at-Home. So we got down to Asaba. The driver took left towards Ugeli. He drove through. We had to drive to Ugeli, enter through Bayelsa, then Port Harcourt, and I was dropped. The driver said they're going to follow now routes to enter Uyo. That's go through Akwa Ibom. And I'm like, a straight road would have taken me from Asaba to Onitsha to Imo State, and I'm in Abia in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
We spent roughly 5 hours going round the southeast because of Sit-at-Home. The southeast has been dropping in IGR back to back since after COVID. We are competing with the northeast that has insurgency cases. We have 6 political zones in Nigeria. Southeast is second to the last in terms of IGR. These are factors affecting us, not just infrastructure, security-wise as well. So Alex Otti has a whole lot of job to do. First of all, how do you woo investors to come down in? We're looking at public-private partnerships, PPP.
Yeah.
So before you even think of PPP, how do you woo them to come down in? How do you tell them?
Let's hold that thought. Let's take a breather. When we come back, I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
All right.
If you were in the position of Alex Otti, what would you do to change the sit-at-home order as has been existing for some time now by the Independent People's IPOB? And of course, how would you've talked about repairing the road networks. That would be a first attraction, ease of doing business. And then we'll look at certain things as put forward by the governor-elect himself. It's Standpoint on Rapid 96.5. Do stay with us.
Now you can go global rapidly. You can listen to us from anywhere in the world at www.rapidfm965.com. Plus, you can get social and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms at Rapid965FM.
Rapid965FM.
On WhatsApp, it's 091 60 333 965. As the Victor Ikpeazu's administration counts down to its last days in office,
the new administration come May 29.
Come, let's take a look at the performance of the outgoing government through the eyes of you, the people. Standpoint Special Focus Edition. It's an evaluation of the projects and policies of Governor Okezio Ikpeazu's government in the last 8 years in Abia State. It's a democracy, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, and now evaluated by the people.
Can't continue like this now. It's a very bad one. Someone is from here. At last, the governor of Abia State has done us proud.
Standpoint Special Focus Edition.
Special Focus Edition.
Every Monday in the month of May, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Let's talk politics, dynamics, and permutations.
It is a concern that we have for our country, Nigeria. This is beyond partisan politics. It's unfortunate. And these are the kind of people who say they are leaders of this country. What example are they showing as leaders of the country?
Let's keep you abreast with the happenings in the polity.
Nigeria is on drink and on oxygen. And how can we get out of this?
I am an employer of the president. I pay the president's salary. I pay the bills of the family. And he must protect me.
Standpoint. The center of all talks of politics.
Standpoint, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. on Rapid 96.5 FM, Umahia.
Oh, Nigeria is more Nigerian than any Nigerian.
All right, it's still Standpoint, and we are discussing how the governor-elect, Dr. Alex Otti, intends to improve the industrialization plan in Abia State. Now, in his bid to becoming governor-elect, and will eventually become governor come May 29th, Dr. Alex Otti had pledged to revive the ceramics and textile industries in Aba and Umahia, respectively. He explained that the modern ceramics in Umahia and the Aba textile mills in Aba, which were once the largest employers of labor, would be revived to create jobs for young people. According to him, I quote, "While I was growing up, Aba Textile was there and was one of the highest employers of labor at the time. Today, where is Aba Textile Mills? It is gone. The cotton, textile, and garment industries account for 30 million jobs in India. 67% of the GDP of Bangladesh is accounted for by the textile industry. Pakistan is about 80%. There were at least 200 textile mills in Nigeria, but there are only about 28 now. How do you create jobs? I know how to do it. I will bring back more modern Aba textile mills." End of quote. He suggests that through a government-supported export drive, businesses and industries in Abia State, I beg your pardon, will have access to financing and global market. Godfrey, do you share this position?
Yes, I do. The best part of Alex Otti is he's a banker. He has been a CEO, and he has sat on the boards of many, parastatals and institutions. And when he says he knows how to create jobs, I believe he actually knows how to create jobs. I mean, Diamond Bank. You don't want to guess how many people were under him in Diamond Bank, and he had the power to hire and fire.
But some would argue that if he was so good, what happened to Diamond Bank? Why did he get swallowed up by Access Bank?
Change of hands. It's that simple.
Doesn't that suggest maybe mismanagement? The bank wasn't doing as well as it made people think it was.
Diamond Bank was making Alex took Diamond Bank from a very down point to where it was making serious profit revenue, 400%, 200%, 100%. 2 years after he left, it collapsed. 2 years after he left, not immediately after he left. So it means that profit started reducing after he left, which, quote unquote, is my thoughts on mismanagement. Not mismanagement by him, but mismanagement by the next person that came in.
That couldn't sustain the track record he had set. Exactly. That sounds very familiar. So, government-supported export drive. Now the question is, apart from garments, shoes, what else does Abia State have to export?
Okay, so in my business school, Phoenix Business School, we analyze and our strategic planning classes, we analyze institutions, states, governments, and countries and their ease of their modes of planning and everything.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we're discussing about a particular institution, and it dawned on me, why don't you do a SWOT analysis for Abia State?
Abia State.
So
Good.
I did that, and I turned it to my facilitator, and he was amazed. He was like, are you telling me that these are the opportunities in Abia State that you are not utilizing?
Can you please share those opportunities?
Right. So
especially for would-be investors.
All right. So we look when I did this SWOT analysis, I had to I highlight Abia's strengths first of all. Abia is blessed with human capital. I mean, Abia has a population of 4 million as of today.
Now hold on. When you talk about human capital, let's look at India. Human capital in India is talking about they have probably the largest ICT human resource pool in the world. So in what area does Abia have human capital?
Okay, so Abia has human capital in the sense that most of when you talk about majority of the educated elites doing a whole lot in Nigeria from the private firm, you can count a reasonable of them from Abia. And then looking at its population of 4 million as of 2006, human capital is a major driver for economic boost. I mean, if you create the industries, who are the people that are going to work there? We have many unemployed, majority of them in the informal sector.
Yeah.
We can drive that population down to industries. Straight up. You can drive all of that. I mean, okay, let me give a vague example of waste management in Abia State. Waste management is very poor.
True.
Now,
and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Now, if we can unbundle waste management, right? When I mean unbundle, I mean have companies that can register and say, we want to help you guys mop up the excess waste in the state. Now, the federal government has said states can go ahead and produce their own electricity. Now, waste to energy is not direct means. Now, when you do waste to energy, there are many things that come out as byproducts that can be sold. We have diesel, we have a whole lot of things that can be mopped out from waste to energy.
True.
And you can still sell these things, and even these are sources of revenue. Look at Ishigate. How many touts do we have there? There are touts at every corner. Why don't these companies, these waste management companies that are being created, take these young people from there and put them to be waste collectors? Round Abia State, round Umaya, round Aba. This same touts are still working in the industries where all of this waste are processed and are turned into various things. I know of a friend of mine who collects plastics. I mean, okay, so funny enough, in Europe, there's this one of my friend that got admission, and he started picking plastics all around, classes everywhere. That's what he does for extracurricular. And then he takes them to waste to energy plants, and they pay him for it. So his first payment, he bought a bicycle with it. Do you know what he did? For every beach resort, for every restaurant, he was taking his bicycle and was transporting himself to all those places to pick cans, bottles, and he was collecting them in large quantity, and he was selling them to the plant, to the plastic plant, or to the waste management plant. Now imagine having things like this in Abia State. Secondary school children, even when they are done with school, gather plastics, go and sell. Those that don't have jobs, gather plastic. We are talking about the textile industry. I also remembered when this Golden Guinea was, I heard, not that I was not opportune to see it work, but I heard that majority of the young people, when they are done with classes, go there to either wash cars, go there to either, do one or two things. And, business was booming. Standard of living was great in Abia at that period. Why can't we do that again now? We have human capital left, right, and center. Educated, non-educated, semi-educated.
Okay, beyond human capital, what else does Abia have?
A diversified economy.
Please break that down.
Okay, so Abia has a multi-dimensional economy with its major sector as agriculture. Then we have trade. Then we have manufacturing. Then we have transportation. We have banking.
So, based on your SWOT analysis,
yes,
top of that list is agriculture and not industrialization.
Agriculture tops majority of that list, because when you look at Abia is like a greenfield zone.
Because like I said, or as I've said when we started this conversation, there's been so much emphasis on Aba industrialization. You understand? Okay. And there hasn't really been so much focus given. I belong to the school of thought that the future, the global economy of the future is hinged on agriculture. I don't know why, maybe because I read things differently, but that's what I believe. So hearing a governor-elect talk about industrialization in the 21st century, one. Two, and the emphasis on Aba as making Aba seem as if that's the only way out, and when not so much focus given to agriculture, it worries me.
Okay, so you said something about exporting.
Yes.
And then I earlier on I talked about globalization. Now, looking at the agricultural part of the state, I was discussing with a friend, and he gave me instance of Maiduguri and Makurdi, and how food are cheap, cash crops are cheap over there.
I agree.
And I'm like, okay, fine. Can we start a processing plant that can meet international standards and export?
But the question will be, what would you be processing? In Makurdi, should I let out this secret? Well, it's part of my plan to own a rice mill, for instance, in Makurdi, because I am looking at Nigeria's largest rice milling plantations are in the north. In the north. So it's easier to ship them down to the middle belt and process, and then ship them down south for consumption.
Okay. So now, when you look at who are the highest consumers of rice in Nigeria, the geopolitical zone, you'd be surprised that the south is. I mean, it's like it's everywhere.
It's known.
It's known. Now we have Bende local government, and Bende is a rice producing part of Abia. So why don't we just find a way? And here's the funny part: you're talking about industrialization. Why don't we have mechanized agriculture?
Mm-hmm. Why don't we look at the value chain as far as agriculture is concerned?
So I believe that agriculture is not just based on the ground.
No.
Agriculture can even grow up, even enter the air.
True.
There's this friend of mine, Olix Farms. He's doing he has his poultry in Old Umahia, and what this guy did on a plot is so massive. You will never believe that someone can take agriculture from down to up. I mean to the sky. So
we've seen it happen in China, where China has estates where they rear pigs. You have buildings of about 8 to 12 floors where they rear pigs. So, I mean...
And here is the best part. That was part of what I did in my research. You have National Root Crops Research Institute close by. You have the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture close by. So when you're talking about industrialization, why don't you meet these people? Let us have products, the best of the best, growing from Abia State. And then you find a way to meet up to international standards and you export. I mean, palm oil that is, growing, booming in Malaysia, where seedlings taken from Michael Okpara University. Why can't we do that here? Okomo oil is, most of these people came to Michael Okpara to take, seedlings to plant. Majority of them. So why can't they say Michael Okpara deliver Abia State? Why can't the National Research Corporation that is in Abia State deliver Abia when it comes to agriculture? These are the lags that we have in this state, and that's why I talk about human capital.
Yeah,
it's not just manpower. It's not just the semi-educated or the uneducated. We have the educated ones here. How can we employ all of them that can help revitalize the state one by one? Abia is richly blessed.
Have you taken time to look at the manifesto? And we are all hoping that Dr. Alex Oti's transition committee will come out with that strategic policy document that will help direct his administration. But while we're waiting for that policy document, so far, looking at what he put forward in the build-up to becoming governor-elect, are you convinced that he has the right strategy beyond experience as a private sector person to be able to at least deliver?
When I first looked at the list on his transition committee, I was wowed. These are not just mere people. These are the people that have gone and conquered and failed and have made a name for themselves. So I've not really I glanced at his manifesto and I just smiled because it was promising. It's very, very promising.
Very promising.
It's very promising. And
I ask, because you're a young person.
Yes.
You belong to the Gen Z. The Gen Zs are very direct about what they want.
What we want, yes.
Exactly. They're very knowledgeable as well about what they want. So, as the future of Abia, under the leadership of Dr. Alex Osi, do you see hope?
I feel hope, but what I really clamor for is a youth inclusive government. It wouldn't be bad if he calls town hall meetings every now and then with young people to hear their thoughts, to hear their ideas, to hear their problems. 50 years from now, we'll be the ones left here to govern it. By then, he may have been, he may have exited. And it is us trying to plan for our future. I tell people I don't do what I do because...
So you need for him to be part of the building of the right foundation.
Yes.
For what would be your future.
What would be my future. Because I tell my friends, whatever I do now, I don't do it for myself. I do it for my generation.
True.
I do it for my kids and their kids. I mean, even the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children.
Yeah.
So, looking at Abia State, I want him to look at Abia State 30, 40, 50 years from now, maybe when he's normal.
So it's not about an 8 years agenda.
It's not about an 8 years agenda. 8 years is too small to build Abia. There's a whole lot of work to be done. Now, the funny thing is, he needs to finish, and then someone else needs to carry the same vision and finish up what he's going to start.
So it's not about the success is not complete without a successor.
Without a successor, straight up. So, in as much as you are looking at Abia State, I'm looking at the next person after Alex Otti. I mean, even in the Bible, there was a Saul before there was a David. And then after a David, there was a Solomon.
True.
So, Saul initiated battles, David won battles, and Solomon maintained peace. Alex Otti is initiating battles. We need someone after Alex Otti that would maintain and win those battles. And on that person, after that person, to maintain the peace in the region. We were talking about the IPOB, and I said to myself, the Southeast governors can just come together and sit and dialogue with whoever is in charge of the IPOB. The problem of the reason why the IPOB are agitating is inclusion. The Southeast is not being included. And when you look at what Nyesom Miki did for River
State,
clamoring for increment of FARC and how they put out IGR for,
and he has utilized it.
So why can't we do the same? This is one man doing that. I mean, he stood up against the presidency and told the presidency, this is what I want. I believe the Southeast governors can come together and stand to the president and said, it is high time you remember the Southeast. And if you decide not to, the same, Tinubu did it in Lagos. That's why Lagos is thriving today. Obasanjo had to cut them off from FARC allocations, and they decided to generate their own IGR and took Lagos from where it is to number one. Lagos State does the IGR of an entire geopolitical zone.
True.
And it was because one man was bold enough, and that is why when I'm looking at Tinubu as president, in a way I want P2B, but looking at the
antecedents,
just taking a look at what he has done so far, I'm like, okay. City Boy is actually called City Boy for a reason. Let's not look at the bad name associated with him and all of it. He's called City Boy for a reason. I'm not saying Peter Obi is not a better candidate. I'm not saying that we couldn't have better. But then, this guy has done things. And let's cut him some slack and see what he can do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the court case should go on. It should go on. I mean, whoever is the rightful winner of the election should actually contest.
Yeah.
But looking at the trademark of City Boy, looking at what he has done so far for Lagos, putting Lagos on the map.
Yeah, most people don't understand. They think Lagos is just because it is Lagos. You're looking at a population of well over 40 million, and that is a population that would probably, if there was a human tsunami, would take over Togo, Benin, and even Ghana.
Now, why is Lagos that attractive? That is the question.
That's the question. Yeah.
Infrastructures. Tinubu came in and did a whole lot.
And he has successfully had good successors.
Good successors who understood the plan, the continuity. And there's this thing in accounting called continuity principle. His successors have understood that principle, and they are able to carry on the things he's doing.
But under the administration of Governor Victor Okezie-Ikpeazu, he says he has been able, for the first time, to adopt a master plan for Abia State that never existed before now. I am hoping that this master plan will be part of the handover notes to Dr. Alex Otti. Do you see the possibility of a Dr. Alex Otti, especially in his quest for industrialization, being able to, buy into that master plan?
It's left for him to either buy into it or create his own. He's a very smart man. He might have something better on the table. I mean, it took the outgoing government roughly 8 years to create a master plan. I'm not saying it's a whole lot of time. I mean, I applaud the fact that they came up with the master plan at the end of the day. And as much as it took them 8 years, I should have expected this should have happened in the first 2 years. Alex Otti is not just coming to Abia to sit down and fold his hands. I believe he's coming with a plan. And whatever you're giving him, he's going to add it to his own. He won't just automatically adopt yours 100%. He would look at yours and actually modify it too.
Let's do a retrospect on the outgoing administration. From your standpoint as a Gen Z in Abia, was there inclusion in the outgoing administration for young people in Abia?
For every inclusion at a certain point that happened for young people in Abia, young people fought for it. They fought for it with their blood, they fought for it with their tears, they fought for it with their sweats. How many students died in Michael Okpara from that, bad road or whatever that young people had to protest for? That's one. Young people have been fighting in Nigeria for let's look at the NSAS. So if someone is saying that there was a youth inclusive government, it was because young people fought to be included. The same way IPOB is fighting. And that's why I said the major agitation is not as if there is nothing happening. It's inclusion. We want to be included in your plan. We want to be carried along. Look out for us also.
Okay. Time, as always, running out on us real fast. I'm enjoying this conversation, and I think we will have a sequel to this conversation. But being a financial educator for the boardroom mentorship, what would you say to Abians, particularly Abians who are looking to invest under the dispensation of the new incoming government? What should they look out for? What should be the green flags and red flags they should look out for in the hope that they can contribute to the industrialization plan, and of course the evolution plan of Abia State?
Okay, here's the thing. Good news always spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Same as bad news. I believe that if they can just call home and ask, how is Abia? And they hear reports, they can for themselves decide, should I come back or not?
Yeah, why I ask, considering the numbers you threw up.
Yes.
As a result of your SWOT analysis, and of course looking at the ease of doing business index, as you also put forward, Abia is 30 something.
We're back.
Exactly. Nigeria, 130 something out of 104. I mean, so naturally, as an investor who's looking to invest, I'm using myself as an example, in agriculture, for instance, in Abia. What should I look forward to on considering these indices?
Okay. Normally, when I consult for people, when you talk about investment, I tell them, if you actually want to invest, look for what people consume every day. So, you're looking at housing, you're looking at food.
So, real estate, agriculture,
education.
We're
looking at transport. So,
mobility.
So, these are, if you want to invest in Abia, I feel these are places you should actually target. Let the government handle the industrialization.
So, are you telling me if I start an Uber service in Umuahia, Aba, would that be a worthy investment?
You have a whole lot of work to do. Abia is an informal state, majorly. It's driven by the informal sector, not the formal sector. It's places that have the formal sector thriving, that Uber services can actually, hailing services.
So when you talk about transportation, how will I approach it as an investor?
I'm tilting towards the informal kind of transportation. The Aba to Umuahia, the keke napeps.
Wow.
The tricycle, the bikes in Umudike that transport students from gate 6 to down beyond. I'm looking at me being able to enter a keke from Ishi Gate down to Umudike.
Okay.
These are, very fast means of transportation. I'm looking at, conveying market people from Amapontia, Orientia down to Aba or down to Umahia. I'm looking at conveying, people, business people or artisans down from Umahia to Aba or, within intercity travels and the rest. So when I'm talking about transportation, Abia is a beehive. There's always an activity going on. It's just for you to focus on that particular activity that you want to expand on and do it the informal way.
Okay. Well, at this point, I really want to say thank you, Godfrey Kelechuku Godfrey, a financial educator for the Boardroom Mentorship, for making our time to have this conversation with me. I'm sure a lot of people listened with keen interest.
I hope they
did. Keen interest. Those who are Alex OT fans, everything he does attracts attention, and most importantly for those who are looking for areas to invest. I wouldn't be surprised that we will get some reactions to this conversation, people who want to get more information from Godfrey about where to put their money and expect good returns. So in saying that, the conversation continues on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You have questions, please shoot. Feel free, and we will get them to Godfrey and bring him back to come answer those questions on another edition of Standpoint. And we may have to, I think, Rapid and Godfrey will have a conversation, as maybe we'll have a business class specifically dedicated to helping people who are interested in investing in different business areas here in Abia and across the southeast. And nothing. Yeah, but remember, it's not free. No free lunch. Not even in Freetown. So that's the show today. Tomorrow, another day where we come with another incisive edition of Standpoint. I am Kamian John, the beloved, also known as the controversial. Hoping that you have a wonderful, wonderful day at work. Welcome back to work after the long holidays. And remember, all we can do is hope, pray, and do our part as far as the development of Abia, southeastern Nigeria, and Nigeria is concerned.
Let's talk politics, dynamics, and permutations.
It is a concern that we have for our